Hi, I'm Lala. I'm from Youth Uprising, and I'm here with Hannah and Marcos from the Sonoma County Peer Outreach Coalition. I'm here to just ask you guys a few questions about your organization and what it is you do. So we want to start with, what is the Sonoma County Peer Outreach Coalition, and what is your goals and your mission of your whole organization?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about who we are, and she can talk about our goals. We are just for young adults, and we get together and we talk about what's happening in our communities, what's happening with teenagers and what's happening with young adults. We talk about our county a lot of times, but we also look at the national level and sort of what are some of across the board. If you're a teenager, what are you dealing with? So we focus a lot on the mental health. We're really passionate about the mental health component in the healthy individual. So we really are working to not only improve mental health in individuals, but to empower them to be able to talk about it and remove a lot of the stigma that there is. We're just, we could be any, we're just four kids, and we just, we get on the computer, and we were on Facebook.com/SCPOC. Follow us. We're on Twitter too, SCPOC, whatever. So, we're just there, and we're just trying to start a conversation. That's who we are. We're just kids who are trying to talk to other teens about what's going on, and how can we make the youth experience better.
Mm-hmm. So like Marco said, our goal is to reduce stigma surrounding mental health. And so we do have our Facebook and Twitter. We also have a blog which talks in depth more about certain topics. And then we also have a website that has 3 different sections. One is on alcoholism, another one is based on healthy relationships and sexual relationships, and the last one is on mental health in general. And so those are our different ways of trying to reach out to youth. And we really want to make sure that our age group, which is 13 to 24, know enough information about mental health, which includes sexual health and a lot of different topics, because we are a holistic approach. And we just want to make sure that they have a trusted source where they can go and get information that is correct, and know that they have a place to go to learn and be able to then teach their friends about this stuff.
So how do you guys feel that sexual health and mental health are connected to each other?
Well, as I said, these are all parts of an individual, and so when we look at sexual health and we look at some of the research that's been done, and we find that, for example, there was a study, and low self-esteem and the number of partners were related, in that the lower the self-esteem in the individual, the more people they're having sex with. And so, we don't think a lot of times, like, well, mental health and sexual health, kind of 2 different areas, but they're really related, because nobody is just mental health or just sexual health. We're all these complex individuals. So when we look at some other research, we find not just that, the same research actually, that not only are they having sex with more people, but they're having sex with people that are categorized as risky partners. So these are people that are also dealing with substance abuse issues, and perhaps not using protection all the time. So sexual health and mental health, they're just these sort of they're sort of intertwined in their part of an individual. There's many other aspects to the individual, but those are 2 very important ones. And for example, we found another research that found that substance abuse and risky sexual behavior are linked, in that so long as somebody is dealing with substance abuse issues, they're going to be engaging in risky behavior for pretty much the same amount of time. So it's sort of like 2 parallel lines. As long as one exists, there's the other.
Yeah, and what we've also noticed is that sexual health and mental health, they are connected, but it might be that your mental health, you might be depressed, have low self-esteem, and that leads to the sexual health that you have, which might be riskier. But it also could be the sexual health, say if you get pregnant, which can then lead to depression. So it doesn't just go one way, they're back and forth.
So what specific steps can be taken to improve these high statistics of unplanting pregnancies and STIs and STDs? What could people do, the people that are feeling depressed and feel like this is their only way? And do not have a high awareness of sexual education and all that, what specific steps do you suggest for them to take in order to improve on sexual education?
Well, the first is to really educate yourself. Hannah, can talk more about where teens get their information, and I think we can go in and adults can come in and they can talk to us. They come from all this great organization, and that work is really great. But that's not where teenagers are first gonna go. I mean, we all have the friend, that he or she had some sort of a rash, and they text you in a panic like, dude, call me, like I need something, and then you call them, and you need to be able to talk to them. You need to be educated, and we all watch TV, and we all have these misconceptions about sexual health and mental health, and sort of I remember when I was a freshman in high school, there was this belief that if you peed after you had sex, you wouldn't get pregnant. Yeah. So obviously that's not true. So when we're looking at, that they came to me, they didn't go to a teacher, they didn't go to a clergy person, they didn't go talk to a doctor, they go to their friends. So really, one of the biggest things you can do is become a resource for your friends.
Yeah, teens do turn to their friends first because they feel more comfortable and feel like they can understand and relate each other more. And so that's one of the main values of a peer-led social media, which is what we are. We are teenagers who are reaching out to other teens through sites that are informational and have that correct information that they're looking for, which they might not feel comfortable talking to an adult to, but they may feel is maybe judging them or looks down upon them. And so being able to know that you can go to a teenager still who is your peer but have the correct information is very important.
So on a more personal note, how did you guys become involved in what you do?
Well, I started doing, when I was in high school, I was always, for some reason, the person that people turned to when they had a sex question. So I started volunteering at a teen clinic because I wanted to have, the appropriate information and just sort of be able to help my friends out. And I just, I started seeing the impact that one teenager talking to another teenager can have. We had people come in all the time at my school, especially towards the end of the year. We would have all these awesome presentations, and you don't remember them because it's somebody that's 10 years older than you, and you're looking at them, and it's like, well, things are changing. Sometimes they use some like outdated vocabulary or whatever, and it's so much more difficult to relate to somebody that's not in your age group sometimes, and especially about these sensitive topics where we really want to talk to somebody that is your age and sort of has been through something like that. So when I was working with sexual health, and then I moved a little bit into the mental health of sexuality, and then that's how I actually started, because then I heard about the Peer Outreach Coalition, and they were talking about mental health outreach, and I really, really, really wanted to contribute to that because I really saw a lot of issues, mental health issues in my friends, and a lot of, like depression, a lot of self-esteem, a lot of, stuff that really, I was completely inadequately prepared to handle. Nobody's going to tell you how to deal with your depressed friend. So I really wanted to empower myself so that I can be a resource. As Hannah says, teens are going to go to their friends first. And, for some, reason, I was that friend. And I really wanted to be a true friend and not be telling them, well, girl, if you just pee after you have sex with them, it's going to be okay. I wanted to be like, no, you need to get plan B. So that was my personal. I just really, really wanted to know what I was talking about and to really be a friend to my friends.
And I am the peer leader intern for the SPCOC. And so I was looking around on Sonoma State University's website to see what they had to offer for the field of psychology internships. And they were one of the ones that I found. It was very interesting looking, and I got to meet them and see what the program was all about, and it sounded really great, reaching out to teens. I want to work with kids once I graduate. And so teenagers are around that age group that I'm trying to get interested in and trying to learn about. And so I thought this was one of the first great steps towards furthering my career and just learning a lot about the mental field and how to help people and how to use different media sources to get to them.
So how does the goal of SCPOC connect with the goal of what ICE is trying to accomplish? Like, what similar methods do you guys have in sexual, safe sex promotion, and what type of same things that you guys do? What do you think are the similarities in your organization?
We're both very technology oriented. As I said before, we're on Facebook and Twitter, and we do in-person events as well. And we go out into the community, but we really are trying to use technology to the best of our ability. I mean, so many kids, so many teens, everyone nowadays has a Facebook. My freaking mom has a Facebook, and she's all trying to add me. Yeah, but, everybody's on Facebook now, including, my people in my mom's age group. And, we understand that teens are there. And, if you're dealing with some stuff, if you're feeling depressed, or if you think you might have an STD, sometimes even talking to your friends is a little awkward, and people want to, go out and Google it. And ISIS did a little experiment, and they just said, Google something sex related and see what you get. And Hannah can talk about what she got. She was the one that did it. But a lot of people were talking about it, and what we're doing is we're using technology to really take all this information that's scattered around the internet, and these piles of, just misinformation, inappropriate material. Especially when you're dealing with sex stuff, you Google anything sexual related, and half of what's going to come up is going to be adult material, which is not very helpful when you're, So what we're just filtering out all that unnecessary stuff and just condensing it into our Facebook and Twitter. And so if somebody is in need of they think that they might be bipolar, they can go click on the links tab on our Facebook, and they can see what we've been posting and just do a control find and see if we posted anything about bipolar, and we have, and they can get educated about the disease and the disorder, and they can see if perhaps they need to talk to a professional about it.
Mm-hmm. So Marco said there is an experiment that ISIS was hosting, and what they wanted you to do was to search for a sexual health topic in Google and see what type of information you get back. Mm-hmm. And when I did this, I found that a lot of it wasn't very helpful information. Some of it was slanted one way. Like, I looked into unwanted pregnancies, and I got some religious sites that were saying, you shouldn't get an abortion, you have to keep the child, it's the right thing to do. And there was another site called it was something along the lines of how to get rid of unwanted things. And so it was all about abortion. And then there are other ones that were like Planned Parenthood, which are in the middle. And it said, you can either keep the baby, you can put it up for adoption, or you can get an abortion. And so some of them were able to really help someone who was looking for the information, but a lot of the other stuff wasn't. And so there is a lot of information that is not correct on the internet. And so what we try to do, as well as a lot of the other people that were at this conference, was to make sure that people have the right information. And also, in regards to how we fit, we don't focus just on sexual health at our company, but as we've seen here in the breakout sessions, there are ones that have to deal with gender and identity, there are other ones on disability, and so again, it is a really holistic approach, and that's kind of how we relate.
Cool. So there's any closing remarks you want to share, any highlights from your presentations, shout outs to your family, friends back home, and your viewers, anything that you want to close and say?
I just really want to highlight just how this could happen to anybody. Sometimes when we're talking about all this, policy, and we're talking about approaches, and we're talking about technology, we just sometimes get a little removed, and we think, well, that can't happen to me, or that happens to this group or that group. And, it can happen to anybody.